My name is Billy Lowry, and I was 36 years old when my marriage ended in the middle of a quarterly budget review. The text came in at 2:14 p.m. on a Wednesday, right as I was standing at the head of the conference table, laser pointer in hand, explaining projected expenses to my entire department. 12 people were watching me, spreadsheets reflected on the screen behind me when my phone buzzed against the polished wood. I glanced down without thinking. From my husband. I'm moving out again. This time it's permanent. Don't call me. I stared at the message for 3 seconds, maybe 4, long enough for my colleague to clear his throat and ask if I wanted to move on to Q4 forecasts. I typed one word, okay. Then I turned my phone face down, lifted my chin, and continued my presentation like nothing had happened. Here's what you need to understand. This wasn't the first time. It wasn't even the 5th. In 7 years of marriage, my husband had permanently left me more times than I could count. A dozen, at least. Maybe more. I stopped keeping track after the first few years because counting felt pathetic. The pattern was always identical. A disagreement, usually something small and ridiculous, would spiral into a full-blown crisis. Me working late, me not reacting enthusiastically enough to his mother's opinions, me refusing to fight my own parents over something trivial. Then came the explosion. Raised voice. Accusations. Dramatic declarations about how he was done, how he couldn't live like this anymore. Then the announcement. I'm leaving. He'd grab an overnight bag, slam the door, and disappear to his sister's house or his mother's place. And then he'd wait. That was the key part. He'd wait for me to panic, to beg to call and text and apologize for things I didn't fully understand. And every time I did. Because I loved him. Because I believed marriage meant fighting for it. Because his family told me I wasn't trying hard enough. Not this time. Something inside me snapped during that meeting. Maybe it was the timing. He knew exactly where I was when he sent that text. Maybe it was the word again, casually acknowledging the pattern he'd been using against me for years. Or maybe I was just done being emotionally held hostage. The meeting ended at 3:30 p.m. I told my boss I had a family emergency and needed to leave early. He nodded without asking questions. I drove home. The apartment was quiet when I arrived. Empty, just as I expected. He'd taken his overnight bag, the expensive one I bought him for our anniversary trip that never happened because he wasn't in the right headspace that weekend. I stood in the living room for a moment, looking around, and made a decision. If this was permanent, I'd make it permanent. I called a locksmith. Emergency residential, I said. Can you come within 2 hours? He could. It would be $275 for rush service. Worth it. Then I started packing. Not my things, his. I was methodical, calm, focused in a way I hadn't felt in years. I started with the closet, his clothes folded neatly into suitcases, shoes bagged and labeled, belts, ties, jackets, everything separated and organized. His watches went into a small box, nothing valuable enough to worry about, mostly things he'd bought impulsively and later complained about. Bathroom next, his grooming products, razors, cologne towels, bedroom chargers he had 4, his laptop, books he never finished, the decorative pillows he insisted on but never actually used. Kitchen last. His specialty coffee gear I wasn't allowed to touch. His protein powders. His specific brand of oat milk. Each item I packed felt like removing a splinter I'd been pretending didn't hurt. The locksmith arrived at 5:45 p.m. Nice guy. Professional. Didn't ask questions. New deadbolt. New knob lock. New keys. I placed the receipt on top of the stacked boxes by the door. By 6:30 p.m., everything he owned was packed, labeled, and stacked neatly in the entryway. 14 boxes, 3 suitcases, several bags. His gym mat rolled up against the wall. I ordered Thai food, sat on the couch, the one I picked out, the one he complained about for 2 years, and watched an action movie he always mocked as immature. My phone stayed silent. That was intentional. He was waiting for me to break. At 8:47 p.m., I heard keys scratching uselessly at the lock. Confusion. Then knocking. Billy. His voice sounded annoyed. The door won't open. Is the lock broken? I walked over and opened it. He stood there with his overnight bag irritation already fading into something else when he saw the wall of boxes behind me. His face drained of color. What is this? I met his eyes. Your stuff, I said calmly. You said it was permanent. I helped make it permanent. And that was the moment everything changed. He pushed past me before I could step aside, dragging his overnight bag across the floor as his eyes scanned the entryway. The neat rows of boxes seemed to confuse him more than if everything had been scattered in chaos. Each one was labeled in black marker. Work clothes, casual bathroom tech, Miss Gee, his life reduced to careful categories. He laughed once short and disbelieving like the sight offended him. "You can't be serious," he said, turning to face me. "What is this? Some kind of stunt?" "It's exactly what it looks like," I replied. My voice surprised even me. No shaking, no cracking, just tired. "You told me you were moving out. Permanently. You told me not to call. I didn't call. I packed." He stared at me like I'd started speaking another language. "I was upset," he said quickly, the words tumbling out. "We had a fight. You know how I get when I feel cornered. You always do this, you take things so literally." I leaned against the wall, arms folded, and felt something strange settle in my chest. Not anger, not sadness, clarity. "You texted me during a presentation I'd been preparing for 3 weeks," I said. "You know how important that meeting was. You didn't call, you didn't ask to talk, you announced you were leaving, again." He ran a hand through his hair, pacing now. "It was about your mother," he snapped. "She sends me a birthday card with $50 like I'm some neighbor kid, and when I say it bothered me, you defend her. You always defend everyone else over me." "That's not what happened," I said. "You said my mother was cheap. I said she gave what she could and that I wasn't going to start a family war over $50. That's when you escalated it into our marriage being over." He yanked open one of the boxes, rifling through sweaters like he expected to find a hidden camera. When he realized they were folded carefully, his movement slowed. The irritation on his face cracked, just slightly. "I didn't mean it like that," he said, quieter now. "You know I get emotional. You always come get me. That's how this works." "No," I said, "that's how it worked. Past tense." He froze, finally looking at me again. "So what? You're just done after 7 years. His voice sharpened, desperate now, over one text. I felt exhausted just standing there. "Over hundreds of texts," I said. "Over years of you threatening to leave every time I didn't react exactly the way you wanted. Over me begging you to stay while you waited to see how much I'd sacrifice to keep you." He scoffed, but there was panic underneath it. "You're being dramatic." "I learned from the best," I replied. His eyes dropped to the door, then back to the boxes. "You changed the locks," he said slowly. "Are you insane?" "This is my home." "It's my apartment," I corrected. "The lease is in my name. It always has been." "Remember, your credit wasn't good enough when we moved in." His mouth opened, then closed. He went very still. "I checked before I called the locksmith," I added, just to be sure. For the first time since he walked in, he didn't have a comeback. "You planned this," he said finally, accusation trembling in his voice. "No," I said. "I responded to your text." His face cycled through familiar emotions, disbelief, anger, then tears forming right on schedule. They usually worked. They always had. "I don't have anywhere to go," he said, stepping closer. "I was going to my sister's, but I was coming back. I always come back, and you always take me back." "Not this time." He grabbed my arm, not hard, but pleading. "Please, I'm sorry." "I didn't mean it. I was angry. You know how I get." "Yes," I said, gently pulling my arm free. "That's the problem. We can go to counseling," he rushed. "I'll change. I swear. I'll do the work." I looked at him and thought about the company holiday party, the shattered phone, the screaming match at dinner, when my coworker suggested separate checks. I thought about how many times I'd heard these exact words. "You've said that before," I said, and nothing changed. "So that's it," he demanded, anger flaring again as fear failed him. "You're throwing away our marriage because I sent one text?" "You sent hundreds like it," I said. "This is just the first time I believed you." He stood there, tears streaming now, staring at the boxes like they'd betrayed him. His entire life with me, packed and labeled. "I don't have anywhere," he whispered. "Call your sister," I said. "Call your mother. You have options. Just not here." He grabbed 2 suitcases struggling with their weight and left without another word. The door closed behind him with a soft click. I expected him to come back for the boxes. He didn't. That night, I slept better than I had in months. I made it exactly 4 days before I realized the night he left had only been the opening act. On the second morning, after the confrontation, I was halfway out the door, coffee in one hand, work bag over my shoulder, when I heard pounding. Not knocking pounding. Sharp aggressive, like whoever was on the other side already felt entitled to be let in. I opened the door just enough to see his older sister standing there, jaw clenched, eyes wild. "What did you do to my brother?" she demanded. "Good morning to you too," I said. She stepped forward like she was going to push past me. I blocked the doorway with my body. "He's been crying for 2 days," she snapped. "He can't eat. He can't sleep. You just threw him out like garbage." "He texted me that the marriage was over," I replied. I took him at his word. Her laugh was sharp and cruel. "You know how he is. He vents. Everyone vents. You don't end a marriage because someone says something dramatic when they're emotional." "How many times has he done this?" I asked. She opened her mouth, closed it, then waved a dismissive hand. "That's just how he processes things. You know he had a difficult childhood." "I know," I said. "And I spent 7 years tiptoeing around it." She leaned in closer, eyes blazing. "You're a coward. A real woman would fight for her marriage." "A real woman stops fighting when she realizes she's the only one in the ring." She stormed off without another word. 20 minutes later, my phone started lighting up. Unknown numbers. Text after text. His cousins. His aunt. Family friends I'd met exactly once at holidays. The messages ranged from, "How could you?" to, "You'll regret this." One simply said, "Cold-hearted bitch." Another, more creative, accused me of being a narcissist who only cared about my career. I blocked every single one. At work, it escalated. Reception called my desk around noon. "Billy, there's a woman here asking for you. She says it's urgent." I knew before I even stood up. His mother was waiting in the lobby, clutching tissues, eyes red, lips trembling, like she was auditioning for a daytime drama. The moment she saw me, she gasped. She told me everything she said. How you threw his things into trash bags. How you changed the locks like a criminal. How you humiliated him. Everything was boxed and labeled, I said evenly. The trash bags were for shoes. Her eyes hardened. "He's fragile," she said. "You know that. He needs extra care." With respect, I replied, "He's 34 years old, and he uses that fragility to control the people around him, including me." The softness vanished. "You're going to regret this," she said coldly. "He's going to take you for everything in the divorce." "Noted," I said. "Please leave." She refused. Security escorted her out while she sobbed loudly enough for half the lobby to stare. HR called me into a meeting that afternoon. I explained the situation. They were sympathetic, told me to document everything, and assured me they'd handle any further disruptions. That evening, I came home to 3 voicemails from a number I didn't recognize. His cousin, apparently. He accused me of manipulation, emotional abuse, and finally showing my true colors. The narrative was forming quickly. In their version of events, I was the villain. The cold, ambitious wife who discarded her sensitive husband for daring to express feelings. They left out the repeated threats. The door slams. The waiting games. Day 3 brought a new twist. I received an email from a lawyer, not his lawyer, a family friend concerned about the treatment of a vulnerable man. The email demanded I immediately return all of his property and warned that any attempt to dispose of his belongings would result in criminal charges. I forwarded it to a college friend of mine who specialized in divorce law. His reply came 10 minutes later. "This is hilarious. They have no case. They're trying to scare you." He helped me draft a response. Polite, professional, clear. All belongings were packed intact and available for pickup at a mutually agreed time. Nothing had been disposed of. Future communication should go through proper legal channels. On the 4th day, they showed up. All of them. His mother, his sister, and a man I didn't recognize, tall, broad-shouldered, clearly there to intimidate. I opened the door with the chain still on. "Who's he?" "My cousin," his sister said. "He's here to make sure you don't try anything." "Try what I asked. I work in finance. I'm not exactly a threat." The cousin stepped forward. "Just give him his stuff. Don't make this harder than it needs to be." I pointed behind me. "It's right there. I'll open the door. You can take it. No one comes past the entryway." "This is his home," his mother wailed. "It's my apartment," I said. "His name isn't on the lease, or the utilities, or the deposit. Want to see the paperwork?" They spent 45 minutes loading boxes into 2 cars. The cousin accidentally dropped 1 box. I heard glass shatter. Probably his grooming bottles. I said nothing. When they finished, his mother turned back to me, eyes venomous. "You'll be alone forever. No one will ever love you like he did." "That's kind of the point," I said. The door closed. I changed the chain lock for good measure. That night, my phone buzzed from an unknown number. "I know you think you're being strong, but you're just being cruel." I didn't respond. I blocked it. This was far from over, but for the first time in 7 years, I wasn't reacting. I was in control. 2 weeks passed, long enough for the apartment building to get involved. Apparently, his mother had called management claiming I'd illegally evicted my husband. The property manager rang me, sounding confused, almost apologetic. "Your husband?" he asked. "He's not on the lease. Never has been." I confirmed it. He checked the records, sighed, and apologized for the inconvenience. Then the official paperwork arrived. He filed for divorce. Not quietly, not cleanly. He came in swinging. The petition accused me of emotional and psychological abuse throughout the marriage, financial abuse too, apparently paying for roughly 70% of our expenses, while he contributed emotionally qualified as exploitation. He demanded half of my 401k long-term spousal support and half the value of furniture I'd purchased before we were even married. My attorney read it, closed the folder, and rubbed his temples. "Standard opening move," he said. "Throw everything at the wall. See what sticks." Discovery was where things got ugly. His lawyer requested my financial records normal. Then they asked for documentation of every gift I'd ever given him to establish the lifestyle he was accustomed to, proof of my controlling behavior. They even demanded records showing my refusal to attend marriage counseling. That one almost made me laugh. I'd suggested counseling more than once. He'd refused, said he didn't want a stranger judging our relationship. I provided exactly what was required, nothing more. 2 weeks later, my younger brother called me. His voice was tight. "So, your ex contacted me." I felt my stomach drop. About what? He asked if I'd testify that you were emotionally unavailable during family gatherings. Said he was building a pattern. And you said, told him to lose my number. But heads up, he's calling anyone who's ever known you. He'd also contacted a coworker, the same one whose wife he'd screamed at over dinner checks years earlier, fishing for stories. They declined to participate. Desperation makes people sloppy. Then he tried something bolder. He called my company's HR department directly requesting records of any complaints filed against me. When they refused, he accused them of protecting an abuser. HR notified me immediately. Everything was documented. My attorney added it to the file. The mediation session came next, required by the state before proceedings could continue. We sat in a neutral conference room, lawyers on either side, a mediator between us. He wouldn't look at me. His attorney spoke first. "My client sacrificed his professional development to support this marriage. He deserves spousal support reflective of the lifestyle established during the union." My attorney countered calmly. "Your client worked part-time by choice. He was never the primary earner. He routinely threatened divorce as a negotiation tactic. We have the texts." That got his attention. He looked up, eyes sharp. "You're using my emotions against me." The mediator intervened. "Let's stay focused." Every item was contested. The couch. The coffee maker he gifted me, purchased with money I'd given him. The bed frame. Lamps. It went on for hours. In the end, the mediator made recommendations. No long-term spousal support. His underemployment was voluntary. My 401k contributions before the marriage were protected. He'd receive a small portion of what accrued during the marriage, about 15%. Furniture would be split based on documentation. He left in tears. His mother was waiting in the lobby and started screaming the moment she saw me. Security escorted them out. That night I received another message from an unknown number. "You win. Happy now I have nothing. You took everything." I didn't reply. I screenshot it and sent it to my attorney. He filed for a communication order. From then on, all contact had to go through lawyers. The divorce decree came through a month later. Final, official, unchangeable. He got less than he demanded and more than I wanted to give. A small portion of my retirement account from the years we were married. 3 months of transitional support, $600 a month. A handful of furniture pieces he'd insisted on during mediation. What he didn't get was control. For a brief moment, I thought that would be the end of it. I was wrong. 2 months after the divorce was finalized, he violated the communication order for the first time. A drunk text at 2:03 a.m. "Remember the anniversary trip we never took? I was going to tell you I was pregnant, but then you had to be you and ruin everything." I stared at the screen, heart pounding, then forwarded it to my attorney. He confirmed there had been no pregnancy during our marriage, either a lie or an attempt to hurt me. Both tracked perfectly with his past behavior. The second violation was quieter and somehow worse. He showed up at the coffee shop I worked from every Thursday morning, sat at the table next to mine, said nothing, just stared. I packed my laptop and left, documented the time, the place, and the witnesses. My attorney sent a warning letter. After that, the noise stopped. The updates came secondhand. Mutual friends, unsure whose side to take, kept me loosely informed. He'd moved back in with his mother. His sister tolerated it for 2 months before she got tired of the constant complaining and drama. He was working part-time at a boutique now, telling anyone who would listen that he'd been forced to start over because of me. His mother told people I'd financially devastated her son conveniently, leaving out that I'd paid for most of our married life while he found himself. About a month later, I received an actual letter, paper, perfumed, a heart sticker sealing the envelope. Inside was his mother's handwriting. True love means forgiveness. He's changed. Please consider reconciliation counseling. You're punishing him for normal relationship struggles. I threw it away. Permanent meant permanent. And for the first time, I understood that wasn't cruelty. It was self-respect. Stop. Part 6. Peace after the storm. 3 months have passed since the divorce became official, long enough for the silence to settle in, long enough for the adrenaline to fade and leave behind something quieter, something real. The apartment feels different now, bigger somehow. Not because there's more space, but because there's no tension filling it, no anticipating the next argument, no carefully choosing my words to avoid triggering a meltdown over something insignificant. The air feels lighter, calmer. There are still empty spots where his things used to be. A corner of the closet, a shelf in the bathroom. I notice them sometimes, but they don't hurt the way I expected. They just are. I took down our wedding photo from the living room. Didn't throw it away. Not yet. It's in a box in the closet tucked behind old tax documents and winter coats. Maybe someday I'll be ready to let it go completely. Right now it's enough that it's no longer watching me from the wall. I started therapy. Not because I'm broken, though, maybe a little, but because I spent 7 years accepting treatment. I never should have accepted. I needed to understand why I tolerated it for so long, why I mistook emotional volatility for passion, why I believed that loving someone meant absorbing their damage without complaint. My therapist says I have codependent tendencies, a deep need to fix people, to prove my worth by enduring. We're working on it. My friends have been solid. The ones who really knew him saw through the narrative quickly once the divorce started. The ones who didn't took longer, but most came around when they heard the full story. A few drifted away quietly. I let them. No new relationship on the horizon. I'm not looking. I don't want to replace noise with more noise. I want to know who I am without constantly reacting to someone else's emotional weather. Financially, it hurt. Losing part of my retirement stung. The support payments, the legal fees, all of it added up. But the peace, that's priceless. I'd pay it again without hesitation. Last week, I ran into his sister at the grocery store. She saw me at the end of an aisle, froze like she'd been caught doing something wrong, then turned and walked away without a word. Probably for the best. The only thing I truly regret is not doing this sooner. All those years I thought I was fighting for my marriage, when really, I was just teaching him that there were no consequences for hurting me, that he could threaten to leave as many times as he wanted, and I'd always chase. One text changed everything. Not his, mine. For 7 years I said, please don't go. I'll do better. What can I change? One word okay was all it took to end the cycle. He expected begging. He got boxes by the door. And honestly, that was the most satisfying thing I've ever done. If you're in a situation like this, hear me clearly. When someone shows you who they are, through repeated behavior, believe them. And when they threaten to leave for the 100th time, sometimes the healthiest thing you can do is hold the door open. As for me, I'm closing this